Imagine a place that tells a story spanning centuries, where culture and nature intertwine to create something truly extraordinary. That's the beauty of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm Abigail, and this is Global Treasures, the podcast that covers the history, travel tips, and legends surrounding one of the 1,223 World Heritage Sites each episode. These places have been identified as having universal cultural or natural significance that is so exceptional that it transcends national boundaries and is of importance to present and future generations. Welcome to Season 2, where we'll explore the 45 sites that UNESCO added in 1979 together. Thank you for listening to the Global Treasures podcast. We appreciate all of your support, and you can continue to support us by subscribing at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Podbean. You can also follow us on TikTok and Facebook. Please leave us a review and tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is how many people discover the podcast. At the very top of a hill in the French department of Yonne stands Vezelay Abbey, a paragon of Burgundian Romanesque architecture and a testament to centuries of religious devotion and political turbulence. UNESCO has designated the site as Vezelay Church and Hill because it includes both the iconic basilica and the surrounding hilly landscape. Before it was a Benedictine and later Cluniac monastery, the grounds once were home to a Roman villa. This estate was passed on to the Carolingians and eventually to Count Girard of Roussillon, who founded 2 convents. These early spiritual institutions were not to last long, though. Moorish raiding parties in the 8th century looted them, and later, raiders burnt a hilltop convent. It wasn't until the 9th century that the site established a second life. Under the direction of a determined monk, the abbey was reinstated and joined forces with a reformed Benedictine order. Moving forward, Vezelay's importance began to grow, not only as a monastic community, but also because it served as a vital stop on the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage route in Spain. Around 1050, the monks at Vezelay made a claim that would forever cement Vezelay's status as one of France's most esteemed places of pilgrimage. These monks declared that they owned the relics of Mary Magdalene. Per their version of the story, these relics traveled all the way from the Holy Land. Later, the discovery of a crypt containing an empty tomb engraved with what is interpreted to be Mary Magdalene anointing Jesus gave validity to their assertion. The monks proclaimed that this was Mary Magdalene's original tomb, from which her personal belongings had been taken and transported to Vezelay. While it had long been considered one of the 4 notable routes in France for medieval pilgrims, this assertion turned the abbey into one of the most revered pilgrimage destinations in all of Europe. So deep the devotion, former prisoners brought their chains as a sort of offering, and the head of the abbey forged these iron shackles to create the railings that still surround Mary Magdalene's altar to this very day. The adoration of Mary Magdalene, who was long seen as the quintessential repenter, continued to draw worshippers in droves, their donations funding the abbey's expansion. In response to the growing influx of pilgrims, a new abbey church was dedicated. However, the costly construction led to higher taxes and tragedy when the locals revolted and killed the abbot in response. The abbey was to become the location for some of the most significant events in medieval Christendom yet again. On Easter, in the year 1146, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux preached the Second Crusade with none other than King Louis VII in attendance. More than 45 years later, King Richard I of England and King Philip II of France met at Vezelay before departing together for the Third Crusade. Yet, Vezelay's history was not without more drama. The nave burned in a tragic fire that claimed many lives and required it to be rebuilt, only for it to burn once again. Nonetheless, the abbey's monastic community remained determined to defend its rights and privileges. Vezelay's status as the site of Mary Magdalene's veneration began to decline in the late 1200s, with the supposed discovery of her remains at Saint-Maximin-la-Sainte-Baume in Provence. The following centuries brought both natural decline and human destruction. Huguenots torched numerous relics in the 1500s, including those of Mary Magdalene, and during the French Revolution, the abbey suffered further damage. At the dawn of the 19th century, the abbey remained in critical condition. On the recommendation of France's inspector of historical monuments at the time, an architect was brought in to conduct an intensive restoration project. After the renovation, in 1976, a remarkable alignment was uncovered. The architecture was designed not to follow the traditional east-west axis, but to follow the path of the sun. Each year, at the summer solstice, right before the start of the feast of St. John the Baptist, sunlight pours through the lofty southern windows, shedding spots of light in perfect alignment along the center of the nave floor, the celestial pattern bathing this enduring monument of faith in luminescence. The Church of Vezelay is one of the first medieval buildings to have proactive conservation efforts taken on its behalf, due to its historic and artistic value. Since then, an entire set of protection measures have been developed to protect the church, village, the hill, and the adjacent landscape. The property is protected by a buffer zone, which helps prevent potential development from encroaching on the site long term. The church and the public spaces belong to the commune, but they work very closely with the state to preserve Vezelay. The current focus is to improve how the influx of visitor and vehicular traffic is managed on and around the property into the future. Speaking of visitors, now that you have the history, let me discuss the logistics and travel tips for visiting this site. If you're flying in from another country, your best bet is to fly into Dijon Bourgogne Airport, rent a car, and drive. You can take a train from Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, but it'll be 3.5 hours each way, whereas the Dijon Airport is about an hour and a half away. Rideshare options are less prevalent outside of the larger cities, and using taxis can be quite expensive. Once you get to the site, tours are offered in multiple languages. Keep in mind that the primary language spoken is French. You can purchase tickets ahead of time online as well. And given the site gets about 1 million visitors annually, and the tours are small, booking in advance will ensure you can get the day you want. There is parking if you drive as well. It is typically recommended to plan 1.5 to 3 hours. The church has so much detail that you'll want to spend some time really digging in and likely taking numerous photos. This is just another reason a tour would be wise. Your guide will likely be an expert who will really dive into the story behind what you're seeing. For example, the tympanum, an area located above the doorway, is carved with a depiction of the First Crusade and the Pentecostal mission of the apostles. That being said, historians still argue about what story this masterpiece is trying to tell to this day. You also can view relics of Mary Magdalene I spoke of previously. The tours are not exorbitantly expensive, and some of them take you to what they call the visitor's house first, which has a projection room where you can see the famous light I spoke of before that's only visible on certain dates within the basilica. If you're trying to plan your trip based on the weather, this area gets a good amount of rain and rarely gets above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, even during the summer months. If you would like to visit during the summer solstice, you'll have to check your calendar and see when it falls in the given year of your trip. In terms of choosing where to stay, Vezelay has very few hotel or restaurant options, so many choose to take a day trip from Dijon, which has a wider variety of hotels, bed and breakfasts, and homestay options. And a question I get frequently is, so Dijon, as in the mustard? And the answer is yes. Dijon mustard originated in Dijon, France. Outside of condiments, Dijon offers numerous museums and a botanic garden you can enjoy while visiting as well. You also may want to see the Well of Moses, an incredible Gothic sculpture that's truly moving and very photogenic. Circling back to the cuisine, you need to experience the food, especially if you have an appreciation for the finer tastes in life. There are so many foods I would encourage you to try, but escargot is definitely a standout. It's been a delicacy in France for centuries. Escargot are snails, cooked often in a rich butter sauce, usually with garlic and sometimes breadcrumbs. It's typically eaten with a 2 or 3-pronged fork, allowing you to truly savor each bite. Before you turn your nose up at it, I urge you to be open-minded. While the texture can be a bit off-putting for some, it really is delicious. It's actually one of my favorite foods. So whether you enjoy architecture, art, or want a pilgrimage to a place of spiritual significance, Vezelay's extraordinary influence in medieval Christianity and its outstanding Romanesque design continues to inspire awe and is a must-do for any world traveler. Join us for our next episode, the finale for Season 2, Virunga National Park, which was Africa's first national park. Located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, it's home to 2 active volcanoes and the endangered mountain gorilla. Until then, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep treasuring the remarkable diversity of our world's heritage.